incorporate this pedagogy in our day-to-day teaching learning process. Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, I welcome Dr. Saxena, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. Over to Ashwini, madam.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Now it is my honor to introduce today's expert, Dr. Neeraj Saxena, sir, Pro-Chancellor of GS University, Kolkata, advisor with All India Council for Technical Education, Ministry of Education, Government of Institutional Development Cell, IDC, Prime Minister's Special Scheme for Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. He has served as a scientist with Technology, Information, Forecasting and Assessment Council. He was a member of the team that scripted Technology Vision 2035 for the country and deeply involved in development of technology roadmap for education. He was fellow and postdoctoral fellow in the CSIR National Physical Laboratory, NPL, New Delhi. Sir is specialized in the area of acoustic remote sensing and its application to air pollution. Sir is having a background in technology foresight. He has deep interest in the area of higher education. With this introduction, I request to Dr. Neeraj Saxena, sir, to take the charge of today's evening session. Over to sir.
Good evening, my colleagues at DY Patil College of Engineering. At the outset, I must thank Dr. Malati and Dr. Kulkarni who have invited me for this talk on a rather unusual topic for the faculty. We have come across pedagogy time and again, but that is not the right thing, which I discovered during my past association or delving in the field of education, particularly higher education. Basically, a scientist, as you just read out, I am into technology foresight, but was drawn into education, and spending my time in AICT gave me opportunity to really delve deep into the bottom of higher education, especially technical education. And I could sense a lot of issues with our higher education and technical education, and I gave them a voice through various blogs and articles in the university news, and of course many talks like this. So I've been voicing over my concern and my ideas in platforms like this. So I thank all of you for joining this talk on this occasion. So let me switch over to my presentation. I'll just, yeah. So this topic was proposed by Dr. Kulkarni, Beyond Pedagogy, it's Hetagogy. And there could not have been better time to deliberate on this. We need to move beyond pedagogy and switch over to befitting Hetagogy. So what led me to think over this was a blog which I wrote recently, last year in fact, and it was 3+1 mistakes in Indian higher education. So the first mistake that we continue to commit is perpetuating linear education model. So there is hardly any difference between primary education, secondary education, and the higher education. We have the same classroom, the same way the teachers teach, the same timetable, the organization of subjects, which is prescriptive and not left to the choice of students. So we have that continuing even in the higher education. Next, the second mistake which I spotted was embracing instructivist teaching styles, which means teachers standing before the learners and transmitting information or knowledge within a belief that
Saxena, sir, sorry to interrupt you. Sir,
huh,
sorry
huh,
for interruption.
huh.
Slides are not visible, sir. Screen is not visible.
Uh, Now can you see? Is it
Not yet, sir.
okay? Just a minute.
Sharing, it has been stopped, I think.
Oh, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Now it is visible.
Yes, now
Yes,
it is
sir.
visible, sir. Screen
Okay.
is visible. Presentation, yes, it is visible.
Oh. So I was talking about these 3+1 mistakes which I found. So second is this embracing instructivist teaching style. And what that means is that teacher assumes that the person sitting in front of him is blank, and whatever he says will be accepted and there will be no questioning. But this style of teaching befits the students in primary classes. So at the primary level, the students learn by memorization, which roughly corresponds to the bottom two levels of Bloom's taxonomy, remembering and understanding. And our students in the secondary classes, they learn through exploring, which roughly corresponds with the middle two levels of Bloom's taxonomy, that is application of knowledge and analysis. But we adults do not learn the way the adolescents and kids learn. The grown-ups learn by experiencing, experimenting. That's how the adults learn. But we continue with that model of sage on the stage, where a teacher takes the position in front and transmits information or knowledge. So that is the second mistake. And third is examining xeroxing ability of mind. So you can read it, you can abbreviate that, and it beautifully compresses into EXAM. So we commit that mistake of assessing the competencies or the abilities of grown-ups by testing their memory. An adult mind does not learn by memorizing, as I just said. So their competence cannot be judged or gauged through the examinations that we conduct, which is largely for testing the memory. And the fourth mistake, it is directly not in line with the first three, but has a strong bearing on higher education. It is overemphasizing innovations as an academic strategy. Innovations are basically uh, sanctioned by the market. Market decides whether an innovation has happened or not, but there is a wave or there is a surge of programs uh, with a belief that innovations, or if we push our students to go in for innovations, the academic higher education will improve. But it is actually the other way. So if you improve the quality of education by addressing the first three mistakes, innovations will naturally start happening. So, and we are paying the price for this mistake that we are committing, and we find Indian higher education at crossroads. We have a policy now in place after 35 years, but still people do not feel comfortable, are not still satisfied with what exactly is happening on the educational landscape as far as higher education is concerned. We see a mismatch between graduate skills and industry needs. If you look at the style that we adopt in teaching our uh, learners in the higher education, it is instructivist, as I mentioned in the previous slide. And what do you expect if they are expected to remember things and not be creative? So if we challenge our grown-ups in the colleges and universities to think, if they challenge their minds, there will be creativity. And obviously, this will lead to creation of intellectual property. But by insisting on or holding on to pedagogical styles, we are not able to generate enough IPR, rather intellectual property, and even the employable graduates. So there is a critical need for educational restructuring and a vision for a developed India, Viksit Bharat, that has been uh, proclaimed by our Prime Minister, that we should be a developed India by 2047. And this has come up because we know that we are paying the price of the mistakes that we are committing. Uh, the need is well appreciated by all of you. Quality is falling short of global standards. Graduates are unemployable. Research skills are missing. Innovation is not really up to the mark. Uh, and this happens because we are not using our minds to think, but using them to store information, which is no longer required now. And current system limits economic growth and social development. This is a well realized thing because industry is not accepting what we force out of our higher education system. So rejigging higher education is very much required. And traditional pedagogy is teacher-led instruction, which we continue to embrace in our higher education institutions, where we have rote memorization and the structure of the classrooms, the orientation of the students, the way the lectures are delivered and the examinations are conducted. It is not really aligning with the real requirement uh, of the learners in higher education. So there is a disconnect from real world relevance. It is completely bookish, and you will also appreciate that if we continue to read out before our students from predetermined context or the books which are already existing, or ask them to follow YouTube videos, they are only going to assimilate knowledge which is already existing. So where does the question of challenging their minds and making them imaginative or creative comes? So these are the issues if we hang on with pedagogy. So the limitation I've already explained. There is a passive learning. Students are uh, believed to be recipients, passive recipients. They have to just regurgitate the answer sheets to pass on or to move to the next level of education. And the same thing, the same syllabus, same style of teaching, the same teacher, the same timetable is uh, impressed upon the learners. And there is a very curtailed uh, relevance to future careers. We already have information and knowledge at the tip of our fingers, and it is no longer a necessity to uh, train our higher education uh, seekers uh, to be passive recipients of knowledge, because the new roles, the new job roles are all about fetching information and then using that for some purpose, some assignment that has been given to them, or some responsibility that has been given. So this is a way the pedagogy is actually gagging the relevance to future careers also. So pedagogy holds back India because there is a skill gap, it stifles creativity, imagination, and it translates into lower productivity and development. Uh, and you can see that graduates lag in poor decision making skills, problem solving skills, and obviously there is a need for shifting to Hetagogy. Hetagogy, incidentally, was coined by Hayes and Kenyan in year 2000. This is a Greek word which is "you risk in," and it means to discover. So that's the way adults discover uh, and learn, and not learn by memorizing. So Hetagogy is self-directed learning. Uh, it is it puts the learner in command, gives autonomy, and it has a principle of self-reflection where the learner has to think over what he has learned. Critical thinking is another dimension, and as a result, creativity and innovation get promoted. And since I said the adults learn through experiences uh, which are uh, which are embedded in the real world, the focus gets shifted towards experiential learning. Uh, it encourages lifelong learning and adaptability, which means that the learning trajectory does not stop with every level, every year that a person passes. So it is a continuous process, and a learner continues to pick up something which is required for building up further without actually depending too much on what existed in the past. So learner autonomy is the primary, is pivotal to Hetagogy, which means setting own goals and finding resources. Self-reflection is regular progress and evaluation, and aligning if there is any going astray. Critical thinking, which means questioning and analyzing information, and real world relevance, which is connecting the learning to life and careers. Everybody will appreciate that this is desirable uh, in the institutions where we are, but there's a wide gap, and the connection between real world and what we learn is the gap is huge. And the benefit that Hetagogy brings in are enhanced student engagement and motivation. In a way, the student has to take charge, fully of himself or herself. Development of critical thinking and problem solving skills, preparation for lifelong learning, adaptability to new challenges, and personalized learning experiences. So these are the benefits that entail, and learner is focus is on motivation, curiosity, and self-direction, personalized assessment, and diverse background. This becomes possible because of the new technologies like artificial intelligence and internet. Uh, so encouraging interdisciplinary approaches becomes possible when we leave the choices to a learner. Today we have education, which is different from learning. And we actually need learning, not education. Education is prescriptive, it is restrictive, it is corrective, and facilitative. whereas learning is supposed to be personalized, adaptive, and it's self-engaging exercise. So the emphasis goes on the real world applications when we leave the reins uh, of education to the person or the learner himself or herself. And this the way it proceeds allows culture of continuous education to flourish. And this is how the learners stay engaged in this model as compared to pedagogy, where it is one off. But once the lecture is over, the student is cut off and only is required to regurgitate that information in the examinations to prove that he has or she has the capacity to remember. So holistic and personalized admissions in higher education, today we have a test or a series of tests which are actually uh, forced upon all the learners irrespective of their choice, unmindful of their choice. So a an adult has to be given choices, the combinations of the subjects, and this is all the more now important and relevant because we have things like credit framework in place, we have academic depository, and creditization of the learning. So these things are there, and it makes a lot of sense now to uh, adopt them. So use of portfolios, interviews, and personal statements, and not just writing in the answer sheets. Encouraging diverse student backgrounds and aligning admissions with heterogogical principles. One interesting thing which I have observed, and maybe I have spoken earlier also, is that when the learners move to higher education, they are supposed to have acquired the skills uh, of application uh, and analysis of knowledge. That is middle level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Unfortunately, our secondary schools miss out terribly on this front, on these two skills. And that's the reason we have uh, tests which are conducted by institutions or bodies outside academic institutions to ensure that those who secure admissions or those who are given admissions in higher education have at least these skills of application and analysis. Uh, because our secondary schools fail on this, we have coaching centers. So that's the role which should have been ideally uh, performed by our secondary schools is passed on to our coaching centers. So it becomes in a way very clear that what is expected to the entrants in higher education and what are they going to do once they are in higher education, which means the top two levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Unfortunately, once the students are admitted in, in colleges, universities, their education starts or everything goes back to level one of Bloom's taxonomy, remembering and understanding. And the question papers that are given to them for their assessment says everything about the kind of education or the skills that they are imparted and what exactly is supposed to be given to them. So I think you can appreciate this. Interdisciplinary approaches are required at this level when uh, the when you start applying knowledge to the world uh, and start creating things, start evaluating things. when you are into disciplines, that scope is not there to it is the scope is there for applying knowledge, applying and analysis, but that is not enough for evaluation and creativity. So this approach of Hetagogy prepares lifelong learners with motivation and curiosity as key factors. So they have to discover, it is a discovery learning. So prioritizing self-directed learning experiences is an important goal for the learners. Developing critical thinking and problem-solving skills gets mainstreamed, which unfortunately we are not promoting in the present setup. Uh, we in India have a young growing population and have the benefit of demographic dividend. And which means that all these people who are in that age group have to have skills and potential to get employed. We will also have a challenge of aging population, if not in terms of percentage, but in terms of absolute numbers, which means we will have lesser workforce, uh, uh, rather a large number of elderly population for whom the youngers have to work. So there is a need for flexible, responsive education systems when we decide to go for Hetagogy. So the advantage that we have is of young population for which education is very critical, and it cannot be left for the pedagogical principles to be preparing our youth. There is a need for skilled workforce that will be required to the population that we will have in future. Skill gap is all of you understand, appreciate, and are equally concerned as I am. So high unemployment and underemployment is prevailing these days, and this creates a barrier to economic growth and innovation. And therefore, it is felt that Hetagogy is a better option suited for preparing the youth with right type of skills. This will require redesigning of curriculum and assessments. Curricula has to be made flexible and giving choices to the students. Formative and rubric based assessments, that means that tendency or the style of or the approach of examining xeroxing ability of mind has to be totally abandoned. We don't need examinations for adults. They must be, when we expect them to be creative, they are bound to fail in things, in their endeavors, which must be accepted as a part of learning. When we learn, failure is a part of learning, but when we educate, failure becomes a stigma for a person. So, which is not the right strategy. Flexible curricula is what will help us in carrying Hetagogy forward. And we must introduce project-based learning for practical experience. And faculty must spend considerable time, once they have, once they focus on skilling, they should leave the position standing in front of the students, and they should come back. Their position is at the back when they oversee that their students are acquiring skills. And to substantiate or to support my point, I would urge you to recall the pictures of our gurus like Dronacharya and Vasisth, and you will find them behind Arjun and Ram, Lakshman. So the position of gurus when they are imparting training or skills is at the back, not in the front. So nurturing directed learning and critical thinking, uh, facilitating facilitating self-reflection and evaluation, promoting collaborative learning, teamwork, and these are the things that are required for the growth of Hetagogy. This is perhaps the best time to switch over to Hetagogy because of the technologies that we have. Um, LMS, virtual and augmented reality, AI, blockchain, and IoT for smart learning environment. These are these take us back to the age of learning, which prevailed in our country before it got into the hands of British. So the whole of India then, about 200 years back, it was a learning society. We were never into education. There was nothing like education. There was nothing like pass or fail. There was nothing like grades. A guru would decide when the student is ready to enter into the socio-economic spheres. And this style of uh, mentoring by the gurus, which means the student teacher ratio was very conducive for learning. Fortunately, this is possible now after 200 years with the technologies that we have in our hands. So LMS for centralized learning resources and collaboration, virtual augmented reality for interactive experiences, AI for personalized learning, predictive analytics. So these technologies are now available to us to totally go in for Hetagogy. These are some more uh, aspects of inclusive of and accessible learning environment, which again get supported or can be pushed through technology. In effectively implementing Hetagogy, we will require to empower faculty and mentors. So as I was talking, that we need dronacharyas and gurus and instructors or people like that. So who can prepare the students in self-directed learning mode. So the first challenge would be to prepare and even change the mindset of faculty to adopt Hetagogy. So what you can see on the screen is different approaches, different ways in which the faculty and mentors need to be empowered. So training is more important because this is a change and we need change managers to help us take through. So deep understanding of pedagogical principles would be at most important. Facilitating and not directing the students to learn. No failures must be accepted as a rule. And I would even suggest that when problems are being taken up or problems are designed by the faculty, they must also participate in solving the problems. The problems so chosen should be open-ended, and if the faculty has already found an answer, knows the answer, then it is no longer at Bloom's taxonomy level 5 or 6. It goes down at the bottom. So faculty has to spend time scouting for very good problems, challenges, and when the students solve, they should also be part of the team. This will ensure that learning happens at the top 2 level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Mentoring and guidance, personalized support is very important when you implement Hetagogy. And as Dr. Kulkarni has often says that student should not, rather student should come to the teacher only when he or she is facing a problem. Otherwise they should learn on their own. And the student and the teacher should not be standing in front giving lectures. So that is something which should be left or should be confined to the lower levels of learning. Maybe it's good enough that uh, teachers in the secondary school start practicing this. So a major push is required for experiential learning, and which means that the real world has to be embraced as such, loaded with a lot of problems and challenges that can trigger thinking in the minds of the learners as well as the faculty. Uh, there is no need to fear if there is no solution identified, uh, no solution is hit. Even if even then it is a learning as compared to what we do today. So it is important that, as I said, faculty should spend more time finding out you know questions or problems or challenges which conform to level 5 and 6 of the Bloom's taxonomy. So these points which you see on the screen are all about gravitating towards experiential learning. So these are the ways through which industry academia linkages can be strengthened, and I'm sure you must have uh, heard this time and again, so I don't need to spend time on this now. Real world application based projects, so incorporating capstone projects for real world problems, uh, problem based learning for critical thinking. These are the things actually are required to enhance employability uh, on one hand, and on the other hand to create intellectual property. When you accept that the learners are adults who do not learn by memorizing, the way we assess them and evaluate will automatically have to change. So we have to say goodbye to standardized exams and focus on evaluating the higher order cognitive skills. And I would propose that such evaluation should be done using rubrics, and there could be 4 quadrant approach for assessment of the learner. And these 4 quadrant, I mean, this first quadrant is a learner evaluating self, so self evaluation. Second would be peer assessment, which we discourage. Third is assessment by a teacher, and fourth is an assessment by an expert or from the external world. So the number of such external assessments could be less in number because you'll not have too many assessors available. But self-assessment itself is a skill which we do not encourage or impart. So formative assessments, rubrics. So I think I have touched these. This is more of a repetition. So focus should be on skills and competencies. So I often say that we need to uh, if, uh, uh, do away with EXAM, that is examining xeroxing ability of mind, and substitute that with TASK, task, which is testing of abilities, skills, and knowledge. So skills are important, and that's what gets the people hired. That's what is expected by the industries or the employers. So soft skills are needed, which the current dispensation fails to impart and even assess. So industry recognized certifications will play an important role in this order when we have pedagogy adopted. Uh, they are more close to the real world and their certification would matter a lot, uh, and will be more credible than the uh, certificates or the mark sheets that we issue after testing, their capability to memorize things. And Hutagogy very well fits or aligns with implementation of NEP also, because we are sure that AI is going to promote personalized learning, adaptive learning, and this is what has been talked about in NEP also. Development of higher cognitive skills, integration of technology, and also learning in one's own language that has been promoted, that is being promoted by NEP. And if you are in the real world, you encounter more opportunities where you use your own language. Pedagogy and objectives, flexibility and adaptability in education systems, preparing students for global challenges. So these are already there, and Hitagogy is rightly geared for ensuring these goals are achieved. But I'm sure that because it's a new concept, not it's still taking some time to first thing will be to prepare our teachers for this. Uh, as I said, they have to take a position at the back. They have to become participants in problem solving. They have to accept that they may not be knowing everything. They have to accept that student also know what they know, or maybe the students know more than. So the role of teachers will change, and this has to be accepted. Reforming assessment methods for critical skills. The skills cannot be assessed the way we assess learners in higher education now. And of course, this has to be taken to all the institutions across the country. So there is an urgent need for restructuring the Indian higher education, and pedagogy is the key. There is a role for stakeholders, government, educators, and a call needs to be given to embrace self-directed, student-centered learning. For 5,000 years, it has been teacher-centered, but now that information and knowledge is freely available, it is democratized, and anyone can access it. So the idea of getting students into the academic institutions only to pour information into their heads, that concept is no longer valid. And this is going to be a historical historical event or a moment when the role of teachers will completely change, and there will be a polar shift in the system from teacher centric to learner centric. What would meaning of transition to pedagogy be for the students? Their responsibility will increase. They can no longer run away saying that, I would need only a certificate to get job. They are supposed to acquire skills also, and the responsibility of studying, learning, practicing will be theirs, not that of the teachers. Development of self-management skills. So they cannot leave things for others. as they prepare themselves for roles in the society. Emphasis on reflection, lifelong learning, enhance engagement. This becomes possible through the information that is available to all of us now, democratized as it stands for all of us. And what it means to the teachers: shift from instructor to facilitator, focus on individualized support, uh, take a position at the back, not at the front, continuous professional development, because this is going to be guided by the developments in technology, and therefore teachers will have to update themselves continuously. And encouragement of collaborative learning. I already said that teachers and students will have to sit together to solve the problems if the learning has to be conforming to the highest order of, of the learning curve. So for the institutions, it would mean that curriculum has to be made flexible and supportive infrastructure. For example, uh, putting teacher at the back, not keeping them in the front. This type of changes and assessment overhaul. This is something which uh, universities are not prepared, uh, but they will have to accept, because the assessments or the examination that we conduct and the certificates that are issued by the universities have lost their appeal in the industries. The recruiters have found their own ways to assess the students before they recruit. So curriculum flexibility comes at the top, supported infrastructure, then encouragement of research and experimentation, which means that institutions should foster research into effective pedagogical practices and incorporate the findings into the academic framework. So the institutions also have to prepare themselves to shift focus more on experiential learning, and they must, for this purpose, welcome alumni, which has started happening off late now. And of course, this would mean something to the parents also. They have to understand their roles uh, to a less directive role, supporting their children's autonomy and decision making in learning. Today, parents expect that teachers will should call the shots, but in this dispensation which I am proposing, uh, parents have to accept that kids also, or their children also need to uh, be autonomous and be independent while making decision making. And as long as they are in the college, they can commit mistakes, they can learn out of that. But once they are uh, out of this and into the workplace, they cannot take so much of risk, or which would mean losses to the employer. Encourage self-discipline, because uh, they are no longer bound by the four walls of the classrooms or by the discipline of the teacher. They will have to uh, be self-disciplined and managing self, and this is crucial for pedagogical learning. So involvement in learning process, so they need to be informed and involved in understanding the learning goals and progress, and offering support to their uh, to their wards without taking control. And lastly, they must trust in the system, because it aims to enhance the critical thinking of the students and hone their skills of problem solving, which is the requirement of the day. They can no longer find jobs merely proving themselves proficient in memorizing the facts and figures. So these are the things that would mean to the and the government has set a goal for a developed India, and I'm confident that if we adopt Hetagogy, we can emerge as a global leader. We will be shifting the gears. We will prepare more responsible, more creative workforce, which is required. Also, we will be in a position to uh, increase the intellectual property, that is the papers and patents, many folds, many folds. Aligning education with industry and societal needs uh, automatically is taken care because we pick up problems from the society and the industry. This would also prepare people to be lifelong learners, and this is not something unusual now. Each one of us uh, is glued to our mobile phones, and we learn something or the other. We rush to our phones, we open the phones in order to get some knowledge or to get some information. But this is not credited, it's not being credentialized. So in a way, we are becoming lifelong learners. We are dependent more on our gadgets. And if we acquire these skills, if we are able to impart these skills to the learners in higher education, and accordingly change our secondary education and also the primary education, I think we would have done a wonderful job, uh, for a developed India. The next 25 years uh, is going to be devoted for development of a complete generation, and this requires people who are skilled, who are innovative, who take care uh, of the population that is going to age. And if we are able to do uh, by adopting Hutagogy, I think vision of uh, India as a developed country by 2047 will be realized in full measures. So final call that I would issue to all the listeners and uh, request you to spread it further, to embrace Hutagogy for a transformative education, prepare students for the challenges of tomorrow and the day after, engage all stakeholders in restructuring process, leverage technology to enhance learning, and build a resilient future ready education system. And I've been writing a lot. I mentioned about my blogs. So in fact, there are about 20 to 23 of them. So you can scan this code and read what I've been writing all these years. I am really very happy that DY Patil College has come forward to organize this talk on Hutagogy, and all those who are attending uh, can be the torch bearers for this movement that we should create for uh, adoption of Hutagogy and changing the higher education once for all. So here is my closing quote from Stuart Hayes, who is the person who coined the word Hutagogy. So I stop here and thank you very much for your participation, audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for such a wonderful session. And mainly you have highlighted about all the need of restructuring higher education and learners engagement systems, and all the models of pedagogical approach, integration of modern technologies in the education, importance of LMS, and really it is a wonderful session. And as far as autonomous curriculum structure and flexibility in the curriculum, so that will be very helpful to develop the higher education policies. So thank you very much, sir, for such a nice session. Um, Participants, if you have any queries, you can please ask to sir. You can post it in chat box also. So, sir, I think there are no queries as such.
Yeah, I know. I can understand
Yes.
it's dinner time. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But really, it is a very nice session. And all participants, feedback link, it has been posted by Pradnesh Padve, sir, in the chat box. Please kindly fill it. Sir,
Sir, I have a question. I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, I'm Dr. Preeti Patil. Sir,
Yeah.
this hierarchical learning is definitely a very different kind of learning practices which you mentioned, and definitely it is very interesting for a teacher. But what would be our challenges as such to make the students adapt to this kind of teaching learning process?
Yeah, I think it is very easy. Today, I have found that students are no longer interested in the classrooms. You give them some challenge, some problem, put them into hackathon, and they just enjoy. Problem with people like us is that for us, teaching means standing before them and giving some instructions. That those days are over. I was giving example of Guru Dronacharya. If you see their picture, they stand at the back and they will correct their pose. They will help them. They will guide them. When it comes to dealing with adults, you cannot instruct them. They don't learn by following instructions. So you have to design experience. Your role as teacher becomes that of experienced designer, which means that you have to identify problems for them, which means you have to identify challenges, existing issues which the country or the society or a village or anyone is facing. Can we deliver a solution? Even if there is no solution delivered, still it is a learning. As long as we are in a college, there's nothing like failure. There is no failure in learning, but there is a failure in education. That is, an assessment which we do wrongly for adults. The competencies of adults, the expectations of adults that they will be creative at their workplace, skillful at their workplace, cannot be tested by the conventional exam that we conduct. It's only for memory. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
confident
Thank you.
that students will enjoy, and I have found that and also as teachers we feel that we need to cover the entire syllabus. That's not required. That's not required.
Yes.
Students need to be told that look, graduate in mechanical engineering means that you are supposed to know all this. Now it is your responsibility. You are an adult. You have to learn. A professor's job is not to teach. The students have to learn, and if they get stuck somewhere, they have to come to the teacher. They have to even consult their peers. Now they have access to so much of information, videos, everything is there. First they must exhaust all that and then come to the teacher. And on the other hand, the teachers must spend time identifying problems that keeps them at the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy. And I often say this, if we consider copying of answers in the examinations as bad, if the students copy, we say that it's a bad thing. Students copying text or material from somewhere into the answer sheets. We penalize them, unfair means and all that. But what about the teachers? They also copy questions from last 5 years, which means they are operating at the lowest level of the Bloom's taxonomy. So how does this justify higher education?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Good evening, sir. This is Dr. Shekhar from Civil Department. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Uh, regarding the Bloom's taxonomy, we are also always in debate that from which level we should start for the engineering education. Because if you start the benchmarking for the Bloom's taxonomy level 3, then whether can we assume that the understanding level and the remembering level is achieved, uh, or we should always start with the level number first. So please guide us on this, sir.
No, I would say that level number 1 and level number 2 should be left to the primary education. Level number 3 and 4 should be left to the secondary education. Level number 5 and 6 should be what we should be targeting at. Actually, we assume that they come with a blank head, and we feel that unless we say something, these people are not going to remember. That is not the right approach. We have to find, experiential learning is the way to teach the learners, the adult learners.
That's correct.
You
So always
identify
we should
problems.
think for the higher BT level when we pose the questions, when we start the teaching learning process. Then always we should pose the higher BT level. So
Yes,
means that means means we should assume that if the BT level question is 4 number question, then all the 3 BT level the student is already achieved. Yes. Yeah.
and more so at when when we scout for good problems, and if we find the answers ourselves, that means that level has already gone down. If the answer is known, that the level has gone down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
That's
we,
correct.
as teachers in higher education, our job should be to sit at the top, to be functional at the topmost 2 levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And in solving those problems that you spot, automatically the lower levels will be taken care of. The problem
That's
is that
correct.
we
That's correct.
the lower level and forget about the topmost.
Correct, sir. Yeah, means if you pose the question number for the 5, automatically all the levels will be attained. That's correct, sir.
Yes, yes.
That's,
That's what taxonomy means.
that's it. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Sir, one last question from my end. We are talking about outcome-based education, and what would be the outcome in case we are teaching or we are trying to assess from the higher BT level? May not be the outcomes of this such kind of assessments would be high, because not all the students will have the similar potentials. So how would you take such kind of assessments into consideration?
I'm just putting a question back to you. Why do you say, or what makes you say that the potential of students is not high?
Of course, it is there, but the
Actually,
I mean to
I
say,
like to just add.
yes,
I'll just like to add. We use the tests that we use test their memory, not the higher order skills, and we assume that a person is not good at learning. Actually, they have to be assessed for higher levels to to say that they are good or bad. And there is no bad learner. We force them things that they do not like, and we call them as bad. We do not give flexibility, we do not give choices, and we call them as bad. So this is not correct. uh, every individual is different, is unique.
yes, sir. Agreed. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further more questions?
So there is enough food for thought. a good dinner.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Shekhar, sir, Dr. Preeti Patil, madam, for such nice interaction along with sir. Um, so, on behalf of D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Akurdi, Pune, sir, we would like to express our sincere thanks to you for giving such a wonderful session. On behalf of Dr. V.A. Kulkarni, sir, also, because of some reason, sir is not able to speak. Okay. So thank you very much, sir, and thank you all the participants, deans, HODs, all our dear faculty members. Thank you very much for the wonderful session. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So this session will be over. Thank you very much.
Thank you.